Hank, welcome into the Blitz this morning. How you doing, sir?
Hey, good morning, Martin. I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing well. Hey, just give us a rundown of what's the latest, what's expected, what's coming, and then I got a couple questions for you regarding. I'm calling it the Tua effect, and I'll go ahead and tease you on what I'm thinking that is, and give you a chance to be thinking about that question as well. It appears that play from Tua on the national stage was almost like opening Pandora's box to the Polynesian culture of the West Coast, Hawaii, Washington, in that area, to football in the Southeast. So, but first of all, just give us an update on what's the latest stories coming out of the recruiting world regarding Alabama football.
Yeah, it's been a big week. Alabama hosted its first high school camp of this summer over the weekend. It started on Sunday and ran through Tuesday. A lot of big names on campus. That's typically what you expect. I mean, visitors started rolling in last Friday, and there's been at least a notable name on campus every day since. I think the two biggest visitors we've seen on campus thus far this summer are Trey Sanders, 5-star running back, former Alabama commit, and Nolan Smith, the 5-star defensive end who is committed to Georgia, both from IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. Trey is really interesting. Alabama's obviously continued to recruit him. He's a top target. Was committed to Alabama for a long time, committed at A-Day in 2016 and decommitted earlier this year, back in January. And it looks like Alabama's still in the thick of it for him. And one interesting note with Trey is he came with his brother, who is a 2018 junior college linebacker that's actually committed to Florida to walk on. But now it looks like Alabama's getting involved with him and maybe making a move to get his name is Umstead Sanders, to get him in their class. Whether it's walk-on scholarship, I'm not totally sure yet, but he was on campus, and it looks like there is some action there. So we'll see what happens with that. If Alabama were to get Umstead Sanders, Trey Sanders' older brother, I think that would put them in the driver's seat for Trey Sanders.
Hank, let me ask you a follow-up on that. Umstead would be immediately eligible, right? If he hasn't enrolled at Florida, he's a walk-on commit, their preferred walk-on, but he would be immediately eligible. And Alabama was low. We only signed one inside. He's an inside linebacker. Is that correct?
Correct.
Oh wow. So this could be a package deal, but it could also benefit Alabama in terms of depth in that position. Correct?
Yeah, it's interesting. It definitely would. He has a few lower level offers. He did. I talked to his junior college coach the other day. They said he came in late. He's from Hines, Mississippi Community College. He came in late, and he just didn't get. He missed a few of their games this past season because he was still kind of getting adjusted and getting enrolled and everything. So he didn't really get a chance to really have a full season under his belt. He's a really good player. He's a little bit undersized, but at the same time, a few schools saw a lot in him. Texas A&M actually hosted him on an official visit back in January. So he's a good player. Okay. So it wouldn't just be, hey, we're offering him just to get Trey Sanders. That would certainly be a benefit of offering him, but at the same time, you're also filling a need at the position.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Well, as we look at continuing down that recruiting trail, before I get to the Tua question, Hank, Pat has a question for you. And so let's bring in Pat. Pat, welcome into the Blitz. What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning, fellas. Wanted to talk a little bit about an upcoming visitor and see if Hank, if Alabama is going to get a visit out of a DeMarvin. I think it's Leal. He's a defensive end out of Texas. It's a Texas A&M commit. And does Alabama have a shot if they can get him on campus in order to flip him from Texas A&M in order to add to what appears to be a stellar defensive line class? Thank you, fellas. I'll hang up and listen.
Thanks, Pat.
Yeah, DeMarvin Leal, we reported few weeks ago, he was going to take an official visit to Alabama on June 15th, and that still appears to be set. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. He's a really talented defensive lineman. Alabama would probably love to do nothing more than flip one of Texas A&M's defensive linemen after the whole Bobby Brown fiasco with his late decision to go back to Texas A&M, but that's not the only reason they would want to flip DeMarvin Leal. He's a really good player, but yeah, he'll be interesting to watch. He committed to A&M earlier this spring. He's still listening to schools like Alabama, still listening to schools like Texas, and we'll see what happens. To my knowledge, he's never visited Alabama, so this will be his first time on campus. I could be wrong on that, but Jeff Banks was out in Texas to see him this spring, I think a couple times, if not more staff members to see him as well. But really good player. He's expected on campus June 15th through June 17th for an official visit. And, we'll probably learn more about him after that.
All right. Speaking with Hank South, 247 Sports, Bama Online Recruiting. Hank, a setup question for a follow-up question regarding the 2020 quarterback, but the Tua effect is what I reported it, called it, talked about it, whatever you want to call it. It appears that not only is Alabama going to benefit potentially from the great play that Tua got made in the 2nd and 26 in the national championship game, it appears that every time there's a Polynesian player and you're talking to him, it seems like the Southeastern Conference and Clemson and a couple other teams out this way seem to be on their list now, and they all seem to refer back to it was great to see Tua competing on that big stage, showing that we could play big-time football. It's almost like they felt like they've been relegated to just playing on the West Coast, and Tua's play open that up. Is that just me because I'm in the media reading that, or is that happening as much as I think it is?
I think it's certainly happening more than it was before Tua was at Alabama and his play against Georgia. But we've seen a number of guys. Even before Tua got on campus, everyone loves Tua.
Right.
He's literally the nicest kid in the world, and it reflects on that. You talk to kids in Hawaii, they're like, oh yeah, Tua's great. And Fatua Tuatele, the 5-star defensive tackle that's considering Alabama, he was saying he wants to go to Alabama because of Tua. That says something. I know there's a quarterback in 2020. I believe Chris Kirshner wrote about on SEC Country. DJ.
Yeah,
Chris Kirshner wrote about earlier this week. DJ Ugiag. I don't know how to say his last name, but it looks like he talked to him at Elite.
Hank, I tried to read his name, and I had a hard time just reading his name and spelling it out. So there's no hope of me announcing. At least you guys get to do it first. So, if you guys mess up how you announce these recruits' names, the rest of us just sound stupid. So you guys can come up with it. The rest of us just sounds like we don't know what we're talking about. But yeah, DJ, that was my follow-up question. Here's a quarterback, number one quarterback, and I saw some of the 247 guys actually saying that he may have been the best quarterback at the camp this past year. 6'4", 240 pounds, sounds size-wise a lot like Justin Fields. What type of player is DJ? DJU is what I call him. DJU from California.
Yeah, I have not watched too much of his film, but everything I've heard about this kid is great. We have him ranked the number one pro style quarterback in the country, so obviously he's got that big frame, he's got that big arm. And one of our guys was out in California a few weeks ago, and I think he was just tweeting throws the kid was making. He's really, really good. For lack of a better word, but he's going to be a top target for a lot of schools, Alabama included, in the 2020 cycle. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. And we'll see if, I think he's a little bit different of a quarterback, obviously, than Tua, size-wise, obviously, and mobility-wise. But, as far as like his culture and looking at Alabama through that lens, I think certainly Tua will have a positive impact on guys like that.
Yeah, it's crazy to me to think that it's possible that Alabama, because his dad said he's looking at David Sr. said he's looking at the SEC, and he's coming, I think, this weekend to visit Alabama, and then he's going up to Clemson because Clemson runs the previous 2 years ran the same offense. His high school ran the same offense as Clemson, I should say, it that way. But when you look at this and others, it's just amazing to me how it appears that, I know it's not just Tua, but so many guys looking at Alabama and the SEC after Tua. You posted a story. You post on 247 Sports and at Bama Online, and people can follow you at Hank South 247. There appears that even though Alabama may be back in on Trey Sanders, the nation's #1 running back, they're not just all in on him. They're edging their bets with other guys, and they offered Eric Gray at the end of April. Eric talks about the Alabama camp. Has he already been to camp, or is he coming to camp?
Yeah, he got offered at the end of April. The defensive line coach Craig Kuligowski went by his school, saw him. I believe Joe Panunzio went by up after. So they've seen him a couple times off campus during the evaluation period. He camped on Monday, and I'm told he did really, really well. And it looks like Alabama's going to take 2 running backs in this class. He's rated. We haven't rated the #1 all-purpose back in the country. I think by the 24/7 Sports Composite, which is everybody's rating, an average of everybody's ratings. He's the #3 all-purpose back in the country. But I heard a couple people tell me he really stood out in camp. Nick Saban really liked him. Nick Saban talked to him after the camp and says, we really like you. We want you to come back on a visit. And it sounds like he's pretty close to making a decision too. He said he's going to Penn State this weekend for an official visit. And then he's deciding whether he wants to go to Michigan on an official visit on June 22nd or come back to Alabama for the Champions Cookout, which is that invite-only top target event they'll have on June 22nd this year. And then he said he thinks he'll be ready to make a decision by the end of June. So maybe Alabama catches fire late here and is able to pull him in. I mean, I think it's totally possible. He spoke very highly of them. Of the program, and he understands they want to take 2 running backs, and that's not an issue for him. So we'll see what happens. I think he's a guy that we should probably start talking about a little bit more.
And we sometimes the local guys get overlooked. We have a local kid here, a punter. Alabama got the nation's #1, #2 kicker punter based on how you. But elite punter Jay Bramlett from Hillcrest High School right here committed to Notre Dame. Do you have much film analysis of Jay Bramlett and is Notre Dame getting an elite punter?
Yeah, I don't know too much about him. I know his name, obviously, and that he is committed to Notre Dame, but it's one of those things where they can only, there's only so many specialist scholarships. And he's been visiting Alabama. Maybe there is more interest than I know about. But I just don't anticipate them using a scholarship on a punter when they're already using it on a kicker this year, especially after bringing in Skylar DeLong last year. If this was last year, I think Jay Bramlett would be at the top of their list as far as guys they need to add to the class, and I think they'd probably get him. Maybe we'll see. Maybe he goes to Tuscaloosa and something happens there. He does get an offer if there's an available spot late. I'm not sure that there's an available scholarship for another specialist in the 2019 class for Alabama.
Yeah, it's kind of like the local guys, they kind of sneak up on you. And I've seen this kid kick and did not realize how elite he was. So, and I've talked with his dad and stuff before as well about coming on our show and being a part of talking some recruiting to help parents navigate this. But Jay Bramlett, congratulations, Hillcrest, local kid, committing to, of course, the arch enemy of Alabama, Notre Dame. But good luck to that young man as he heads out that way. Hank, as we wrap up, I know next week we'll have even more news on camps, more camps going on. June, a big time month for camps. We got the Champions Cookout coming up and a lot more. So I know you're going to be writing about those things. Let our listeners know how they can stay in touch with you and follow you in terms of your upcoming recruiting articles.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of stuff coming up, like you just said. There's another offensive defensive line camp this weekend, and all the camps will be in June this year, so it'll be busy. And you can follow us at BamaOnline.com. It's also Alabama247sports.com. I think we're doing a free 7-day trial right now if you sign up today, so it's a good chance to try it out. And you can follow me along on Twitter at HankSouth247 or follow Bama Online on Twitter at BamaOnline247.
At Bama Online 247, the Bama Online account and personal account at Hank South 247. That's where he tweets out all of his articles. Thanks, Hank. We'll catch up with you next week. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks, Martin.